Hey y'all, it's Jennifer here. Kind of got back from the pool right now, so a little pool hair happening, and we're getting ready to go out of town, make some college visits this coming weekend for my girls. They're seniors, so lots going on. But I want to get my video done before we leave. I wanted to talk about two things: our essay that are the PDF we were talking about for Vertel, and then the chapter on the American Revolution. So just my takeaways for the week. The first thing is Vertel. I really feel for Harry Clurman. As I'm reading this, this poor man. I feel like he kind of reminds me of the Showman, you know? I feel like he's like this big salesman, trying to sell this and keep this all together. It's like the greatest plan, but that it fell apart because, you know, you've got so many different people coming together trying to say, no, we should do it this way. We should do it this way. We should do it this way. You know, they should have been a lot more like Stanislavski and Danchenko, because if they had said these are our specific rules or these are what we need to compromise on, they might have lasted a little bit longer. Because I think, you know, there was some real animosity between several group members. And poor Clurman, he tried really hard to keep things together. You know, I said in my essay, poor death of a salesman, for sure. Poor guy. But, you know, if it wasn't for him, it probably wouldn't have even lasted 10 years. He tried to keep them together. One thing he said was that the method was preserving the group, but it was limiting it at the same time. And I'll talk more about that later, but that's a really good viewpoint, that if you have only one viewpoint, one theory that you're working off of, and instead of trying to, oh, hey, why don't we try it this way, and go, okay, let's try. But Strasberg was so not having that. He wanted things done his way or the highway. And when you have stuff like that, it becomes really, feelings get hurt. People don't want to participate with each other. It's not collaborative. But the other question that Vertel asked was, you know, whether the group left any distinguishable dramatic form. I mean, obviously, you know, this was kind of based on Stanislavski's system. You know, they took this concept and made it into what Strasberg called the method, which was interesting to me because I always thought Stanislavski was the method, but his was actually a system. Very interesting on how that whole thing transcribed down the pipe, you know, that he took it on his own, and even how people view it. I'll talk about that in a minute too. But I did like the fact that I think all these different people from the group theater branched off and had their own style of what they were taught. And of course, so, I mean, those techniques have trickled down for almost 100 years. But I think, you know, they've kind of laid the foundation for maybe what realistic, truthful theater is. Okay, now let's look at the book, the American Revolution book. So the first thing that was interesting to me was the whole lab training setup that occurred after Stanislavski left. And of course, Strasberg becomes a member of that, and that's where he learned the system at the time. But the lab was supposed to be a 2-year study, and Strasberg only stays for 1 year. So my question is, how can you become an expert at something when you've only completed part 1 of a 2-part system? And so I really think he would have been different and the group would have been different had he actually gone through the 2nd year. Because if you look at what was, you know, the content of it, the first year is about getting in touch with the actor and who the actor is and the self exercises within yourself. But the 2nd year was taking all of those concepts and putting it onto a script, putting it onto a role. And he missed that, which is vital. It kind of shocked me that he didn't stay through the whole training. And even our author questions, could it have been different? Would it have been better? And I kind of agree, perhaps it would have been. Another thing that was interesting to me was that Strasberg was so adamant about following the having the emotions come from a previous experience. There wasn't even any question that their actors could have found a different technique or way. And Stella Adler, man, I love just her wherewithal. And of course, I had read some, she's a very dramatic lady, and, you know, very much this is how I present myself. Had the wherewithal, like I said, to say, no, this is not working for me. And she goes to Paris to talk to Stanislavski himself and complain because this role isn't working and these techniques aren't working for her. And he says to her, I love this, then it's not working for you. Find something else. And it's like, boom. It's like, it makes sense, right? So it's interesting to me that maybe people in America weren't as connected as they need to be with what Stanislavski was doing later on. Obviously, he had 3 books out, you know, and those theories didn't come out. But why was Strasberg so much against it? I just don't understand why he was so against changing or ideas or grabbing different concepts, you know. Another thing, my last thing I want to talk about is I really think the group theater has truly shaped American acting theory and the concepts of how we act and getting to the truth of the story. Those, you know, concentration, relaxation, improvisation, the magic if, those are actually all things that I see in our teaks. You know, we're doing improv quite a bit to get to ideas, to get to characterization, script analysis, you know, we do a lot of sensory recall, some emotional recall in a healthy way, but those are actually part of our teaks that we have to teach. So believe it or not, the impact has been pretty severe, pretty great for us as educators. But my last one is, I'm going to read this. The biggest takeaway is that there's no right way when it comes to acting. You know, acting concepts are forever changing. And as educators, it is our duty to learn and train ourselves in a variety of concepts and then use and teach what we feel works for our students at any given moment. And I believe that. Okay, y'all. Have an amazing rest of your week. All right, bye.